In 1914, British explorer Ernest Shackleton set out on a daring expedition to traverse the Antarctic continent. The mission, known as the Endurance Expedition, aimed to be the first to cross the frozen landmass, a feat never before accomplished. Shackleton, along with his crew of 27 men, embarked on this perilous journey, unaware that they were about to face one of the most extraordinary survival stories in history. The expedition began from South Georgia Island, the last inhabited land before the endless ice fields of the Antarctic. Their ship, the Endurance, was equipped with all the necessary provisions for the long journey. However, the harsh and unpredictable nature of the Antarctic quickly became apparent. In January 1915, before they could reach the mainland, the Endurance became trapped in the thick pack ice of the Weddell Sea. For months, the ship drifted helplessly, locked in the grip of the ice. The crew tried to stay hopeful, but as the ice continued to crush the ship, it became clear that the Endurance was doomed. By October 1915, the pressure was too much, and the ship began to break apart. Shackleton gave the order to abandon the Endurance, and the crew moved onto the ice, with only the most essential supplies. The crew spent the next 5 months stranded on the ice floes of the Antarctic. With temperatures plummeting to minus 40 degrees Celsius, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the conditions were brutal. They survived on limited rations and occasionally hunted seals and penguins for food. Despite the dire situation, Shackleton remained focused on keeping morale high, emphasizing that their new goal was no longer exploration, but survival. In April 1916, as the ice floes began to break up, Shackleton decided that they could no longer stay put. He led his men on a treacherous journey in 3 small lifeboats across the icy waters of the Weddell Sea, aiming for the remote Elephant Island. After days of battling the sea and the elements, the exhausted crew finally made landfall on the desolate island, but they were far from being safe. Elephant Island was barren and uninhabited, and the crew faced the harsh reality of being stranded. Shackleton knew that their only hope of rescue lay in seeking help from the outside world. With 6 of his strongest men, Shackleton set off in one of the lifeboats on an 800-mile, 1,300 kilometers, voyage across the perilous Southern Ocean to South Georgia Island. For 16 days, they navigated through relentless storms, towering waves, and freezing temperatures. When they finally reached South Georgia, they were so physically drained that they couldn't land at the whaling station directly. Shackleton and 3 of his men had to undertake a grueling overland trek across the island's snow-covered mountains to reach help. When they arrived at the whaling station, they were greeted as heroes. However, Shackleton's mind was solely focused on rescuing the rest of his crew. After several failed attempts due to impassable ice, Shackleton finally managed to return to Elephant Island in August 1916. And remarkably, he rescued all of his men. Although Shackleton's expedition didn't achieve its original goal of crossing the Antarctic continent, the story of his leadership and the crew's survival against all odds became one of the greatest tales of resilience and courage.